All right, guys, welcome to the Tony and Dakota podcast. We got another special guest that is here in the Fort Wayne area. Do you still live in Fort Wayne?
New Haven.
Oh, okay. Basically, Fort Wayne.
It's a nice house.
Yeah. But we got another Fort Waynian here with us today. Tony's going to introduce him.
This is Adam Gerig. He has been known as a realtor and a real estate investor here in the Fort Wayne area. He has a lot of rentals and in his personal name and some company names. Also, on the side, he sells salt through Mid-America Salt. We're going to talk to him a little bit about how that company got started and who all's involved in that. He also used to own a property management company. He has his managing broker's license, and he's licensed with Century 21 Bradley. This is a friend of ours, a mentor of ours. We used to call him all the time, bug the crap out of him, ask him all kinds of questions, real estate questions about stuff, and he would give us great advice. Adam Gerig.
Yeah. Appreciate it, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, man. I got to say something to start off. I got to tell the story. I think I told you this actually here recently, but when we first met Adam, it was when Tony, Logan, and I all just first started getting into real estate. And there was this deal. I tried to buy that deal. Now I'm like, that was a freaking steal. It was like a 5-unit, another 5-unit, a duplex, a triplex, and then like something else all right next to each other. And like the guy wanted like $120,000. And it was on High Street in '08. It was, I mean, some of the properties were very, very, very rough. It would have been a big one to take on, but we were just bugging the crap out of Adam for that. And we didn't have the money at the time. So I'm like, well, this guy do seller financing. And like now, like looking back and realizing like we were newbies, we haven't done anything. And then we're like wanting to take on some massive deals. Adam kept not getting back to us. And we were very upset with him. Like, we're never going to talk to this guy again, ever. And then we found out that he's actually a pretty cool guy.
Yeah, that happens from time to time. You run into a lot of people in your real estate endeavors, and you sometimes find the good ones and find the bad ones, and sometimes the bad ones aren't as bad as you thought.
Yeah. But that was our initial experience with you. It was like, oh, man, this guy doesn't get back. And I was like, well, maybe he's just super busy or something. And then we're like, yeah, I think it was just that we were newbies.
Well, and I think that part of that deal was that the owner of the property management company that owned that at the time didn't want to play ball.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So Adam grew up not too far away from here in Auburn. I went to DeKalb High School. Then he got into college. What made you decide to go to college? And then you studied business finance at St. Francis?
Yep.
What made you decide to go to college? And then what led to you getting into real estate investing?
Well, my decision to go to college was pretty much chosen for me. I mean, my whole family has been to college, and, you know, that was always the route that, you know, you look, most people's paths are you go to high school and then you go to college. And, you know, now I have kids of myself, and I don't know that I'd push them that route unless that's what they want to do. But as far as real estate, getting into real estate, the whole reason I got into real estate was because of my dad. He was a broker up in Auburn with Weibel Realty, and I can just remember, you know, when I was little going, you know, his schedule was obviously not a typical 9-to-5 being a real estate agent, so it was, you know, going to the real estate office and all the agents being around and, you know, eating candy and donuts and all that stuff, being around that environment and knowing that, you know, when I got to high school and graduated high school, I knew that was something that I wanted at least to put in my, I guess, my repertoire to be able to, you know, do that or have that as an asset or an income stream for me if I chose to go that route. And after college, you know, the pieces kind of just all fell together to push me towards that. Didn't really know what I was going to do, but it's really just timing and people coming into your life at the right time, at the right moment. And, you know, Jay Redding was that person for me. So
you got an internship. Did you get that at the tail end of college, like in the middle of college?
Yeah.
And then what did that mentorship look like, or that you were doing work for him for free and he was providing you with knowledge, and then at some point you transitioned into being paid, right?
Yeah, so actually, I mean, as luck would have it, like the stipulations at St. Francis were that like every senior at that point, you had to do an internship like your last semester of college. And so that was part of like me being able to graduate, and part of my business class Jay came and spoke at. He had just, left his corporate job. We actually spoke about this last night. He had left his corporate job, had the corporate handcuffs, the golden handcuffs as he calls it, and had to start over at 45 years old with, being in corporate America and then going to real estate is a pretty big jump, leap of faith. He came and talked about what he was doing, flipping houses, and had some rentals. And I was like, man, this guy's doing stuff that I want to do. And so I approached my teacher after. It wasn't even anything that Jay was even offering. And I approached my teacher and said, hey, I really would like to see if maybe he would do an internship. So he gave me Jay's cell phone number and called Jay, and, the rest is history. Jay, kind of created he wasn't anticipating that, but, my senior project was flipping a house. Mm-hmm. And it's actually the very first house so to say flip. It's actually on Riverside Avenue, so it's right down the road from here. And it was a great learning experience. You see the HGTV shows, and it's, flip this house, and everybody, makes it so easy. But at the end of the day, the bottom of the market dropped out. We flipped the house to where we couldn't really make any money flipping it. So I turned it into a rental, and that's kind of what led me towards acquiring more rentals, because it was like, man, this is awesome. I pay $300 a month, and I'm making $700 a month, and after expenses, I'm walking away with a little bit, and they're paying down my principal. And I was like, man, I'd like to rinse and repeat, and that's kind of what pushed me towards doing that. So,
wow. So the question is then, do you think that you'd be the businessman that you are today without going to college?
I think I would be. I don't think it's necessarily to go to college. I wouldn't change. We talked about this last night. I wouldn't change any of the life experiences that I've had, because number one, I played sports, so I made a lot of good friends and had a lot of experiences that I wouldn't have had I gone to college. But I also think that I'd probably be, a few years ahead if I would have went straight into real estate, straight from high school, as opposed to, it's funny when you talk to people that, number one, I think the statistics are if you go to college, you typically change your major like once or twice while you're there. And then I, get a business finance degree, and, like, what am I doing with my business finance degree? Not really a whole lot. I'm doing my own thing. And so it works for some people, but for me, it's like the stuff that I learned from the books and all that stuff wasn't as valuable. Like what Jay did and came and speaking to my class about his background and his knowledge was a lot more, valuable to me than anything I learned from sitting and reading a book and doing a test or, trying to memorize anything. So.
Is that pretty typical to have a speaker like that come in? Because I've never heard of anybody like that coming in.
That was really like, that class was like a 1-year-old class, and the guy that came from there came from Taylor University. I think I still have his contact information. Alan, he's actually a professor. He actually went back to he's at Bethel, or I think Bethel College now. But it was a brand new program, so he pretty much had a open book as far as how he wanted to structure it. And his whole class was like, we went to SDI and walked SDI and did a tour there. We went to a bunch of different businesses and actually just had business owners coming in and speaking to our class about their path that they took and how they got there and things that they would change, which I think is a ton more valuable, like I said, than trying to learn calculus or philosophy or, anything else that you're going to learn in there. Like life experience teaches you a lot more than, 2 + 2 = 4 type deal. I mean, you still need to know that stuff, but.
Yeah, did you have anything like that in your college?
Well, I was going to say it's funny because it's like the guy, there was a guy that came in and he did entrepreneurial thinking, but it was like a 1-year-old class as well. So it's never included as part of the curriculum. You know, it's not part of your liberal arts degree that's decided that it's something that you need, like philosophy or sociology or psychology, like all those classes. It's like you absolutely have to take these.
Right.
But it's like something that gets added in later, and then usually it's one of the first things to get cut, you know, when they decide like, well, we don't have as much money. We have to keep, you know, some sort of thing that starts with whatever and then ends with studies, if you know what I'm talking about. And
Yeah.
but I was going to ask you about college too. It looked like you had a lot of fun. It looked like you partied a little bit.
Oh yeah.
And I got a picture here.
That's actually from Atlanta. Oh yeah.
I think is that just like a mesh shirt? That's not even a real shirt,
MC
right?
Hammer. That's an MC Hammer outfit. I think I had the hammer pants and everything in that one.
Nice. So I was gonna ask you. You still you still have this like broness about you. Like you're still pretty like chill, laid back. You're like, oh yeah, Adam's super cool. Like people would still want to sit down and have a drink with you or party or whatever. Yep. When do you think that people grow up? Like what age or like when?
I think, I mean, it really depends. For me, it was, you know, it was after I got out of college because, you know, it was like, well, now you got to get a real job. You know, being in school, it was like you have your classes, you have your sports obligations, and then your free time's your free time. So it was, you know, usually party or play video games with buddies that would come over to the house. But I mean, I think obviously life circumstance changes for a lot of people. So, you know, people that don't decide to go to college and, you know, they have to go straight into the workforce, or mom and dad aren't going to let you stay at your house. They have to grow up a whole lot quicker than, you know, I was fortunate. My parents were very supportive of what I did, and obviously, you know, supported me financially while I was going through college as well, because it's not like, you know, between school and sports and all that, I didn't have time to have a full-time job to do all that. And actually, luckily, the house that I bought, I had 2 other buddies of mine that were on the basketball team with me, so they were paying my mortgage. So that's kind of another way that I got into like, well, this is pretty cool, you know. You get a couple buddies in here, they're paying for the house, and I just get to live here for free, basically, you know. So
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think you gotta. I'm at least a firm believer, and I think everybody's personality is different. Some people aren't extroverted and aren't going to be the, you know, life of the party type deal. But I mean, for me, it was like 22, 23. Once I'm out of college, it's like, it's time to grow up and get a job. And
yep. You made me think of another question. When you talked about like your buddies paying your rent. So me and Mr. Jay Wild were talking yesterday, and like there's apparently like this group of tenants that are like fighting against like landlords in Fort Wayne, and he was trying to get in their group. And anyway, they were talking about like how landlords are just like leeches off of people and like sucking off. So basically, like you were just like, you know, taking your friends' money and stuff. Yep. What would you say to like that? Because I know you have other rentals as well, but that's how you got started. It's like, oh, you're taking money from your friends and like you're leeching off of them and stuff. Like, have you thought through that or like seen other people make that argument before?
Oh, I've definitely seen people make that argument. Just go on Facebook. You'll be able to find about anything you want. But I think at the end of the day, it's a situation where it's like those people that have those type of opinions or whatever, you're not going to change their mind at the end of the day. It is their opinion. But for me, it's like my buddies that were, you know, if they had lived in the dorms, they would have been paying $4,500 a year to live in the dorms for 9 months out of the year. You know, the $350 that I was charging them for a full house a month, you know, that included everything. That, I mean, they actually ended up saving money because of that. And that's why they chose to live with me as opposed to live on campus. Well, plus you can't really party on campus. So if you live off campus, you can do whatever you want.
Yep. That's awesome. What do you think about that, Tony?
Yeah, I think that just people in general, when they see somebody doing better than them, they have to come up with reasons why they can't, why it's not acceptable. Like, I think people have a problem with money and other people making money. You know, you see like billionaires all the time, like Elon Musk, like getting crapped on by people, and Grant Cardone getting crapped on by people, and like people who actually provide a lot of value to society getting crapped on. And then I look at like the issues that we've got with our economy and our government and that sort of thing. And I feel like it's primarily government spending, which we can get into an entire political discussion about that. But
let's go, Brandon.
Yeah.
I'd say the one thing that I thought about that Jordan and I talked about was just that like employees, it's the same thing. It's like the employer is living off of those employees' labor at that point. So like it's always other people that are providing services for other people. That's like saying that if you're a nail tech or whatever, that now you're sucking the
You should be
funds
doing
from
it
them
for free.
because you're doing them a service or whatever. It's the same thing with housing. It's not like you're taking anything from them. You're providing a service that they can choose whether or not they want to use that service. Those people didn't have to stay with you. They could have been like, nah, I'm gonna stay in the dorms, and they decided to stay with you. So
I mean, you can go on any of the listings in our group or Facebook Marketplace or whatever, and it's just, that's why I as much as possible, like I'll post something funny every once in a while, but like I hardly post anything to Facebook, hardly post anything to Instagram or any of the other channels, because it's just like there's so much, energy that people for whatever reason choose to be negative as opposed to just. And the other thing is, like, if you have an opinion, that's great, but like you don't have to like I could still have my opinion about political stuff or whatever, and that's just my opinion. I don't have to like what I believe and what somebody else's believe. No, there's no right or wrong necessarily, but you're entitled to your opinion. And for someone to just be like, oh no, you're wrong, or that property should never rent for that in New Haven, or it's like, okay, that's your opinion. We still rented it, just so you know. But like,
everybody always says that. Like, you will never rent it for that amount. I'm like, it's gonna be rented in less than a week, guys. Like, it will be based on somebody else's decision to do it. Like, it's not like we force anybody in there. It's very interesting that, people like, it's like not like we're taking people, shoving them in the house and like freaking lock them and then they're like, you're going to pay us $1,200 a month. Like, that's what they treat it like, though. It is interesting.
But I think that like people are frustrated in general just based on the fact that like with wages and whatnot, it's like it is difficult to like work 40 hours a week and then not have to work more than 40 hours a week and like still get everything that you need and then a few things that you want as well. So I think that that's discouraging to people. And, there's an abundance, like we're in the United States where there's an abundance of resources and things like that. It's like the disparity. I've heard that when the disparity between the poor and the rich gets further apart, then it tends to like lean itself into civil war or something like that. When you see somebody doing extraordinarily well and you see someone that's like barely getting by, then there's more animosity between the two groups. But I think that the underlying causes that people perceive is that like, hey, my neighbor is doing better than me because he has rental properties, so I need to like make sure that he's suffering. Right. Versus like looking at the mechanisms that are creating the dysfunction in the system.
Or shooting them down or saying like that, like not even just like neighbor, but like families, are huge. Like anytime you try to do better or do something, there's always going to be that person that's going to have something negative to say because they're not willing to do it. They want you to feel like you shouldn't do that, or you're not doing the right thing by trying to pursue it. And I think that, part of what this economy, it's just made a lot of people lazy. They have more time on their hand because they're allowed to sit at home, or they're allowed to, get more money from the government for doing nothing. And what it's created is, like you say, wages are going up. Like I just heard Parkview's hiring like 300 more traveling nurses. And it's like all these people are making like $40, $50, $60 an hour for a job that was $30 an hour a year ago. And it's like, that's going to catch up eventually to somewhere. And then eventually what happens is when the economy goes back to where it's supposed to be, are those same people that were getting paid $60 an hour going to be willing to go back to work for 30?
Right. Well, not just that. I heard they're getting paid like 60 and then plus time and a half and then plus like, so it's usually time and a half plus 20 or 30. Like they're getting paid like 100 to like, it's stupid money.
Yep.
Like stupid. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yep. We already have a screwed up healthcare system, and it's about to get even more screwed up.
True.
So.
It's not for profit though, dude. Don't.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Don't
All
worry
for
about
you.
it. Not for profit. Yeah.
All for you.
Some of them are. So I want to go back. Let's talk about AG rentals a little bit.
Yep.
What did that look like? What were some of the early struggles of you getting started as a real estate investor? What were some of the early struggles of like getting AG rentals started? How did that come to fruition?
Yeah. So
When was it too?
well, it all started. So there's been multiple instances of property management and what I've done from the start. So my family up in Auburn built some senior villas back in, like 2000, probably 2000. They probably started them in like 2008, I think. And so when I graduated college, part of what I did in coming back, I already had my real estate license, was I was managing those villas, which is, Section 42 housing, which if you're not familiar with it, it's like super, super intense as far as like when you look at property management and you're just leasing a property, like it's super easy compared to what I did, because I had to verify assets. I had to verify stocks, bank accounts. I mean, all these people were getting subsidized rent from the government for this community because it was a low-income community. So it was just super, super intense. And I did that for a couple years. And it was like, it's cool, but if I'm going to do this, like, I don't want to have to jump through all those hoops. And honestly, what got me started in the property management was it was super, super, again, like being at the right place at the right time. Like I had a few rentals, was living in Auburn at that point where the senior community was, and decided to start my own property management company, which was Gerig Property Management. I think I had a few of my properties, and as luck would have it, one of the biggest real estate companies in Auburn at that point in time, I don't even know if they're still around, told their property manager, Tammy Jones, Tammy Fluke, I think it's Tammy Jones now, and she was running that 60 days, we're no longer doing property management. You have 60 days to tell all your clients you're no longer doing this.
How many did they manage?
It was at that point, I think it was like 100, it ended up being like over 100 units that I got just from them, I guess, being at the right spot at the right time, because I still had that good relationship with her. And, she basically had said, they're making me close this. Here's who's leaving, basically. And I ended up with, a bunch of properties to manage in Kendallville and Auburn. And, it was mostly Kendallville and Auburn.
What year was this?
2000, I think like 2011.
Okay.
So I did that for a couple of years up in Auburn, and I was coaching women's college basketball at that point at St. Francis. So, young, single, didn't have kids. So it was, driving down here to go to practice, getting home late, managing the properties during the day. And then eventually just got to the point where I was like, I'm down here every single day. This makes no sense. So moved down here. I think it was like 2013-ish. And then at that point in time had merged with a company called Eisenman Property Management, which is no longer available as well around, and had brought my units from Auburn, basically my book, and merged it with them. So I was managed my properties, getting new properties from Fort Wayne, because that kind of got me into the Fort Wayne market. I wasn't really managing, properties here at that point. And then did that for, I think, 2 years. I think 2015-ish. I think 2015-ish was about when I stepped away and was kind of broke off again, and was doing my own thing, not really managing properties at that point, but at that point was approached by Sarah and Ed Arevalo, who was at that company with me, and I'd always had a really, really good relationship with them. Mostly Sarah. I didn't really know Ed at that point. But sat down with them, and they're like, they needed me because of my license, and because Sarah at that point hadn't gotten to the point where she'd passed the real estate license and done all that, so they needed me, and it worked out good for me too, because they were, Sarah's, I mean, there's a lot of property managers in Fort Wayne. I know almost all of them. I have nothing to say bad about any of them. Well, there's a few of them that I don't really like.
Nothing bad to say. Oh, never mind.
I'd say about 75% of them I have nothing bad to say about them. But as far as property management goes, I mean, I don't know anybody that does it better. I mean, she was managing, 500 or 600 units at one point in time by herself at Eisenman, and I don't think anybody tell you that she doesn't know how to do her job. So I knew that, when I sat down with her, I was like, this is not like, I've tried this. I've been doing it since 2011. I've handled everything, the maintenance, I've done it start to finish. I've done it. And I was like, this is not what I enjoy doing. Like I enjoy going out meeting people. I enjoy going out and getting deals. I'll bring owners in. Like I like meeting with people and like talking with them and knowing their story. But from that point forward, like the day-to-day, the data entry, the collecting rents, all that stuff, not my bag. Mm-hmm. So I knew that she was really good at it. And I was like, if this is what we're going to do, like, I'm not going to do like, it's going to be your baby, take it and roll. And she did. And they've grown exponentially. So that's kind of how I got into that. And then as far as stepping away from that, really, I mean, it just was the right thing to do. I mean, I'm a firm believer in that. And I was, I've always said that, like, I don't know, doing the right thing. So like I was part owner in that, but I was like, I felt like for what I was providing as far as value to that partnership or whatever, it was like, I brought in some owners, whatever. But I wasn't handling the day-to-day. I wasn't dealing with the pissed off tenants and the, and the people that weren't paying. I wasn't going to the evictions. I wasn't doing anything of that. So she was doing like 95, 100% of the work. It's like, you deserve 95 or 100% of the, of this. So that was my decision to kind of step away from that. But obviously, they still manage my properties. So, they do great. I get an email once in a while, hey, we got a tree that needs cut or whatever. And okay, go do it. But that's about it. And that's really from the extent of what I look at investments. When it comes down to it, that's kind of like, I don't want to be super, super involved. If I have to get involved in it, I think that like my highest and best use as far as time is not dealing with that. It's letting somebody else that's a lot better at doing that, and that's their passion, and that's what they're good at, and putting them in a position to just say, do it.
Yep. Did you know that he was with Eisman?
No.
I did not know that either. That's crazy.
Yep.
And then, so when AG started, was Sarah involved from the beginning then?
Yes.
Oh, I did not know that either.
Yeah, she got her start with Eisman.
Yeah, I knew that like she was with that.
Man, she'd been there. I don't know. I'm probably gonna butcher the year, but I know she had been there like several years before I even was there.
Yep.
And
I knew she was with Eisman. I didn't realize that she was with you from the beginning.
Yeah, we don't want to get anybody in trouble. I'll tell you the story after.
No, she wasn't. She was with Eisenman. I joined Eisenman, and she was already there.
Right.
Yeah, and then from there, she was like, "This isn't working. I want to separate and do my own thing and be able to grow something for me."
Yep. And what year was that?
I think it was like 2015.
Okay. Wow.
Or 2007. No, 2017.
Okay.
2015 is when I left. 2017 is when we got the ball rolling with that.
Wow. Yeah. I was like, I didn't know it's been around that long.
Yeah,
like
it's crazy. It's crazy to even think about it. I mean, I didn't even realize it's been, 3 or 4 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
How many properties do you have? I was just looking at one commercial property. It's on Pennsylvania. I was like, holy crap.
Yeah.
That thing is huge.
Yes.
So properties wise, what do you got? How many you got?
It's a fluctuating number, obviously, because I buy and sell, but most of the ones that I have, actually, I've honestly, with the market that we're in right now, and obviously you guys are well aware of it, it's just like there's stupid pricing out here. So right now what I'm doing is, as they become vacant, the ones that I've been holding for a few years now, like I'm looking to move them. And it's just not from the standpoint of that I want to get down to zero, but if someone came in and offered me enough money, I'd sell them all right now. Like I'm not tied to any of them. And from the standpoint of like Pennsylvania Avenue, I'm the owner of record, but I actually have that one sold on land contract. I've got quite a few that I've sold on land contract to, like close, like that's sold to my my the contractor that I use a lot and has done a lot of work over the years, needed a space.
Yeah, that's a big space. It's 15,000 square feet.
Yep.
I was looking at that. It's like a huge. It's like the area where we were, where we ended up selling to that media company with the wire.
Yep.
Well, it's like in that area, and
it
it's
was 03. Yep.
ginormous. Like it's huge.
Used to be a bread factory. Back in the day.
Wow, we're trying to lock one up on Pennsylvania right now. We were just talking to her right before you got here, actually. But
I think I bought that for like $100,000 or something like that, and I sold it out on contract for well over 2.5 times that.
Yeah, it was 75,000. You got it for it.
Oh, 75. There you go.
So you
couldn't remember what I.
So now that we're friends, now we get to buy stuff on land contract, right?
Hey, if I get a good enough deal, and really at the end of the day, it's like for me, like I said, the the reason I'm doing land contracts on some of these, like mostly commercial and stuff like that, is that I don't want the headache. I don't want to lease it. Sarah and Ed do a lot of my residential and stuff like that, but like when it comes to like the commercial and stuff like that, like I'd rather find the person that fits for, sell it to them, let them deal with everything from that point forward, and just make them, make them pay me, and then it works. It works for everybody. So
that reminds me of a question. What did you sell the glass shop for? How much did you end up selling that?
it's on land contract too.
Yeah.
I think 50 or 60.
Okay.
On land contract. That guy actually has bought several property. He bought 2 from me on land contract. One of them sold. So he sold and I got paid off, and then he's got the glass. Got the glass. That was a good deal.
Yeah, dude, so we'll tell you a quick story about that one. So we had this guy that called us like a week before his redemption period for a tax sale.
He was going to lose it.
Yeah. And so this thing was rough too. It was full of stuff. And then so we gave him another couple weeks afterwards too. But then we decided to wholesale it over to Adam. And so this guy's like blowing me up, asking if he can get in there and all this other stuff. And then he wanted an extra couple days. But anyway, we helped him get some money at closing, which was cool, and he got access to it because he was going to lose access to it because his redemption period was up, and there's some stuff that he wanted to get in there. So we really felt like we helped this guy out, but we had like a week to get it done, and then we didn't have the money at that time to close it. So we called Adam. We're like, hey, Adam, you want this thing? And dude, I remember I was at like dinner, and I'm just like freaking out because Adam wasn't getting back to me like within like a minute. So so I was like, are we good? Are we good? And then, Adam ended up buying it. And then the next day ended up buying it and selling on land contract, made some money on it. So I think we made like 2,000. Yeah. Yeah. Like it wasn't anything crazy.
I'm land contracting that. I don't even know what the land contract unpaid principal balance is, but it's like I get $500 a month.
Yep.
He pays all the taxes. He does everything. And it's like, hey, $6,000 a year for $20,000.
Yep.
I mean, it's not all net, but
still. Yeah. So the question that I have on that specific deal, and then maybe viewers have the same thing, when you sell someone a land contract, because something that I was concerned with was there was city liens and code liens against it. So if you sell it on land contract, it's under your name, and then he didn't fix it up for a while. I was like, dude, is he going to do the roof and all this other stuff that they were like demanding that he does? Does that go on you? And like, and if he continues not pay it, or what happens in that situation?
So basically, if there's like neighborhood code or anything like that, if the at the time that the title transfers at closing, you basically have the right to go into the neighborhood code and start the whole process over again. So you basically say, I'm the new owner. I know that this has some code issues, but we're gonna do X, Y, Z, or create a work plan, or basically tell them, because at the point that it transfers title, the next hearing that they would have anyways, that process basically starts over from grounds. Even though they have an open case, it basically has to start back at scratch at day one just because there's a new owner.
So you automatically got more time, and he got more time.
Yep.
Okay.
He's actually still I don't know if he just brought it to code. I know that we'd gotten some code things, and I think he finally got everything brought to code on that.
Yeah.
It's been
2 years.
Yeah.
That's something that would stress Dakota out, because I still see that guy getting stuff and it's in your name, because I look at these, like we market to those, I still see you getting freaking code violation things all the freaking time. Like Adam has a lot.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, I'd rather buy them that way. I'd rather buy them that way and have them have the code violations, because obviously that's a weakness point for a lot of people, and it's just, I don't know. I have a love-hate relationship with them. Obviously, it's good for getting deals, but it's like for me, it's like they're almost taking advantage of the most, vulnerable people in this. Like, once you give people a laundry list of things that they need to fix, it's like, well, these people have been living here for the last 60 years and they're on Social Security. How do you expect them to be able to pay number one, especially if it's like a roof or something like that, they're not going to let freaking granny get up on the roof and do her thing. You're going to have to pay somebody and it's going to be expensive. What do you expect her, what do you expect Granny Smith to be able to do it in 60 days? It's like, come on, like a little bit of common sense would go a long way with that, but that's not what it's usually about.
A lot of times I call and negotiate liens for people. And I tried to call the city code and they do not negotiate, because I was trying to negotiate for a seller because we were buying their property. They haven't paid their city code liens in like years. And now they're so far behind because they just fine the crap out of you that she's now upside down. I'm like, how does this help anybody? The house is not going to be brought to code ever now because she doesn't have the money for it, and she can't do anything about it because now she can't sell her property because you have so much liens on it that she can't sell it for what it's worth. So how does anybody ever win in this scenario ever? And I'm like, let's just take a little bit less. We will bring it to code and we'll get it fixed. And they wouldn't do it. And I'm like, this makes no sense, actually. I was like, I don't get it.
If you ever get a city code violation, make sure that you definitely go to the meetings and then give them the biggest sob story that you can think of and ask them for the longest extension that you can think of. Just sit there and negotiate with them. Like if you tell them like it's going to take me at least a year to get this done, they'll be like, you have 3 months. Be like, can I have 6, please? And then even if you got absolutely nothing done in the 6 months, you could still come back and be like, I had more misfortunes.
Ran out of money.
They'll work with you. Versus if you don't come to the meetings, it's almost like they stamp you. Like they're like, you need to come to the meetings or we're gonna hurt you.
And the meetings are like during the week, during times that people would work. I mean, it's like, so again, like, if Johnny homeowner, you want me to miss work to come to this meeting. And then on top of that, you're going to make me fix thousands. And on top of that, if there's another 100 people in there, you wait for an hour to even get up there in front of the person to do your 10-minute little spiel and get out of there. So it's just, I don't know. There's got to be a better way to do it. I don't know that. I mean, it's government, so I don't know that it ever will get any better than what it is. Probably like.
We need to bring somebody in from neighborhood code. That's what we need to do. That'd be crazy. It's like, hey, I got a scenario for you.
Yeah, I mean, it's just crazy to me that that's the way that, they, like you said, they get to a point where, like, even if you fine it 24, like some of these properties are worth like 5, 10, 15 grand, you fine it 24,000. Well, what's going to happen? That person's not going to be able to pay it. So you're going to wait 2 more years for it to go to tax sale. Go to tax sale, nobody's going to buy it because it's got more liens than it's worth. And then what happens? You end up with your whole message or your whole whatever is, well, we want to make houses better in Fort Wayne. Well, that house is sitting there for 4 years now because you find the crap out of it. And now it looks even worse than it would have.
And it's just going to continue.
And it's going to end up getting torn down. At the end of the day, what ends up happening is it'll get on a demo list. The city will demolish it and we'll end up with a vacant lot.
Yeah, and how long do you think that takes? 10 years?
Probably not that long, but probably. I mean, by the time you get to a point where it's unsellable, you're probably 2 years. And then plus, the tax sale process is going to take you, by the time it goes to tax sale and gets through the redemption period, you're 2 years. So, I mean, you're 4 or 5 years out before it's even.
Yeah. I'll say with this lady, it's definitely going to be a minimum of 10 years because she's still living there. So, like, she's going to continue to live there. The fines are going to continue to go up. She's not going to pay them. So, it'll be multiple years for this one.
And until they show up or put a condemnation order on the door and remove her by police force.
That's ridiculous.
How many properties do you have about then? Is it like 30, 40-ish?
I'd say total units, I have probably about 60. But that includes a mobile home park, which I'm hopefully selling by the end of the month, which is probably I think 16 of those or 17 of those.
And then how active are you now? Like how many hours do you think that you spend now
In real estate?
Yeah, doing real estate investing activities?
I'd say probably, I don't know, probably 4 to 5 hours of like deal search and all that on any given week, like specifically like sending mailers, reaching out to people, getting closing set up and all that stuff's probably 4 to 5 hours. I mean, I could devote a whole lot more time to it, but I've actually got a guy who I've been, I guess, grooming to be able to, similar to what you've got, is to be able to take a lot of that the busy work of doing all that stuff and finding the leads and creating the list and all that stuff is just super, super time consuming. And so getting to a point where I can hand that off and let that be his, 20, 30, 40 hour a week job. And then me just doing what I enjoy doing, which is negotiating deals to get properties under contract and selling them. So
Yep. How long have you had that person? Is it a kid or how old is he?
No, he's 40-ish.
Okay.
His name's Rick Holder. I don't know.
I feel like I've heard that name.
He used to be at Keller
Okay.
back in the day. But he's a realtor. Has his realtor's license. He doesn't really do a whole lot with it. I don't really do a whole lot with mine.
Not an actual murderer. Just
Realtor.
a really good closer.
But he, he's been huge in helping me, I guess, scale and do a lot of things that like I didn't even like know that I needed to do, as far as like, setup tech wise, having office set up, systems. Like, I'm a fly by the seat type of person. So, having somebody that's a little bit more detail oriented is huge.
Yep.
So
What marketing techniques work best for you?
honestly, for me, at least to this point, has been the letters. I mean, I send out, it's not generic. It's like I've crafted my letter over several years now, and I still continue to tweak it on a most, 6 month to a year basis, just because I don't want it to be, because of the market that we go towards, I don't want them to get the same letter again and again. So I try to at least vary it a little bit, because I'm not going to scrub a list. I'm just not. So if I'm targeting neighborhood code or probate or whatever it is, I don't want it to be I don't ever want to come off scammy or spammy, not scammy, but I don't want to come off either. But as investors, I'm sure you guys get it too. It's like, what did I get in the mail today? Oh, a postcard. Oh, a letter from, Dakota and Tony. It's like, I'm cool with it, because obviously I do the same thing, but it's like, I don't want to get to the point where like my reputation or the people that, you're always going to get the pissed off people that call you and, I record them, but I don't want to be that person that, like, at least if they're getting a letter from me, they know that I took the time to like specifically send you a letter, sign it, send you a hand signed envelope and all that stuff. Like, it's just a little bit more personal touch. It costs me more and takes more time, but it's just, at the end of the day, I didn't want to end up, you see all the programs, everything out there. It's always, spray and pray, which, I mean, I do it. I'm sure you guys do it too, but it's just, I didn't want mine to be like everybody else's.
How much do you think you spend a month on letters? And how many letters do you send?
It really varies, but I think last year, I probably did somewhere, between 7,500 and 10,000 letters.
For the year?
For the year.
Okay.
This would be a good talking point for us to discuss. You talked about our portfolio. You were like, I don't know, I just own a lot of mine cash. Like I just want most of my portfolio to be cash. I don't really leverage like you guys do. Dakota and I are fully leveraged. Well, for the most part, there's
like
a couple properties,
65 to 70%. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. There's just even a few properties that we have paid off, but not very many. Why own your properties cash?
I don't know that I guess I flipped a little bit on that. Like I would say that some of them I own free and clear. I've actually taken loans on quite a few of mine and do like most of my flipping, or I guess flipping, it's more wholesaling, because obviously I don't really I don't like to go in and spend 3 months flipping a property to get, 20 or 40 grand. But I don't see debt as a bad thing. Some people, everybody's going to have their own opinion on this, but I'd rather, your highest returns are going to be using other people's money. So whether that be the bank or private investors or whatever it may be. So for me, it's just a standpoint of being able to weather, because you look at cycles, there's eventually going to be a downturn that happens. It's not necessarily being over leveraged, it's being in a position that your properties would cash flow regardless if you took a 20 or 30, Jay always talks about, being able to weather the storm, and what's a storm, I guess, what would happen if you had a reduction in, 10, 20, 30% of what your current income is versus, moving forward, and could you survive that? And I think stress testing that and doing worst case scenario, if you can do that and still be 70, 80, 90%, 100% leverage, then who cares? I mean, to me, I don't see debt as a bad thing, and I'd rather have a boatload of cash than a bunch of properties free and clear, because they're all you may be paper rich, but if everything's locked in your property, the only way to make that liquid is to sell it. So, but I think it's good to have, for me, I'd want, going into this, whenever it happens, this downturn, I want to have as much cash as as I can have. So
I was looking at your business, Mid-America Salt, and it looks like it's from like somebody that maybe you went to high school with, or grew up with, or that sort of thing.
That's actually, I'm actually not there anymore. So,
okay. But you sell salt.
I do sell salt. So it was a guy that I went to high school with, and that whole scenario didn't end up well.
Is that with Michael?
No. That's with Andrew Teeley is the guy that owns Mid-American Salt, him and his dad. But that didn't end well, and so I started, I didn't start. Mike started a company called Infinite Resources, which is a salt company, and purchased a property up in Ligonier, Indiana, which is bagging ice melt. And we actually just shipped our first full retail load yesterday, or actually delivered this morning.
Wow.
So to Louisville, Kentucky. So, yeah. So
you just did your first one?
Well, we sell bulk salt.
Okay.
But
I was like, holy crap, how have you survived?
That's what what we had been doing up until. So again, it's like, it's something that we looked into getting into, was bagging, because that's your highest margin, creating a retail product and selling it. And as luck would have it, I think it was during COVID or a little pre-COVID or whatever the situation was, that this opportunity presented itself. John Adams from, I think it's B&D, I think he's with B&D, had the listing for this property up in Ligonier, and it was like 25 or 19 acres, almost 30,000 square feet of buildings, and had a bunch, probably $150,000 to $200,000 worth of equipment in it.
Jeez.
And it was something that we were already this would be something that we'd really, really this is long term, what we'd like to be able to have or do. And it literally just fell in our laps, and it was man, and for the price that they're asking and what we got it for, it was just a killer deal. And
nobody makes any money selling salt, though, man. There's no money in salt.
It depends. If it doesn't snow, there's no money in salt.
Was that a factory that you made? Was it already built for salt?
It was not built for salt, so we had to that was obviously with COVID and everything, pushed it out, and we had to retrofit everything, because it actually previously was a pellet manufacturing facility.
So similar?
They made wood pellets that would go in your wood burning stoves. So we had to, the bagger itself, we only had to make some changes to the bagger as far as chutes and all that, and weighing and all that stuff. But we got rid of a lot of stuff that they had that would not have lent itself to what we were trying to do. So piecemeal it together, and then it's really just, trial and error, getting stuff together and making it happen. So that's been a ongoing, thing that we're, pushing forward. But, we finally, like, we were in a group text this morning, and it's like, finally got our first full load out, retail wise. So we had like a test and trial runs and all that stuff, and had our test bags. We actually still have some that we could sell. So if
we need some
salt,
yeah, we
we'll
actually do need some salt for like this, and then our Airbnbs and stuff like that. So
do you guys have to do all that?
Well, we are paying my uncle to do it all, but yeah, we're gonna do it all. Like, just like go and get all of our, the office, and then the Airbnbs.
Not that long to do, and
yeah, it's not gonna be that much money, but yeah, we definitely need some salt. Yep. What's the profit margin difference between like bulk and then retail?
Oh, I mean, it's absolute, like, that's the main reason that we decided that we needed to get into the bag. Is this, the margin difference is just astronomical. So like with bulk, there's just so many players and there's so much competition to make so little profit, that, with bulk, it's a necessary evil, because a lot of customers want to be able to buy. I want to buy my bulk from you. I want to be able to buy my bag I want to buy everything from one person, so I don't have to have 4 different vendors for 4 different things.
Yep.
So it's like kind of like a loss at this point. It's almost like a loss leader. Like, we'll sell you your bulk, but we want your bag business, so that you can sell them your low dollar margin or whatever, no margin, to be able to make $50 a ton, $60 a ton on the bag product. So
way big difference.
Oh, huge, astronomical. Obviously, there's more labor that goes into it, but the numbers are just it's crazy. If you could put everything in a bag, you'd be a billionaire.
Wow. Wow.
But you'd have to have Lowe's and Menards and Home Depots and all this stuff like that to be able to do that, because it's volume. Obviously, is a huge thing.
Is that the goal?
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, the goal is to be able to get in some box stores.
Get on Shark Tank.
Yeah, we're trying to get, this first season through, get our feet wet, learn everything, and then I think next year will be our push towards getting into the Do It Bests and Ace Hardwares and your Menards and Lowe's of the world. See what sticks.
Wow.
So,
you've got 2 little boys.
Yep.
And a wife.
Yep.
What does your family life look like? How do you manage to get things done business-wise and still spend time with your family?
Yep.
What's your relationship with your family look like?
Yeah. So we actually talked, again, this is something that we discussed last night, is proper, work-life balance and what that looks like. Because at the end of the day, you can make the most money in the world, and, if you sacrifice your family, it's really not worth it. So right now it's absolutely crazy. I mean, because I've got 2 under 3. I got my 3-year-old Eli and my 1-year-old Emmett, and right now it's me go to work in the mornings and come home, be with the kids for. My wife then goes into work for usually 2 hours. She's a personal trainer at Anytime Fitness, and I stay with the kids until she gets off. Then we're both home together, have dinner till the boys go to bed, and then we've got that 1 to 2 hour window to where we have a little bit of time of the week, and then on the weekends it's just family time and being able to spend together. But still working on that perfect work-life balance. But I think at the end of the day, we talked about this last night, is that it's just, if you have to give up some profit or whatever from a work standpoint, it's so much more. Even relationships, not even family, like friends, I've had to really, in our next month's goal, actually, I guess, lesson that we have to work on and figure out is what are everybody, at the end of the year, especially coming up on the end of the year, you're going to have your New Year's resolutions, and so much of it, with everybody is, what's your business, what's your, it's like for us, what we challenged everybody to do is what is your life and family goals for the next 12 months, and what does that look like? Like, what do you want to do with your family? What do you want to go on vacations? You want to devote so much time? Do you want to take a kid to a ball game? Whatever that looks like, because I think at the end of the day, we can all get caught up in, making the most money, which we all, we all need to make money, no doubt about that. But no amount of money is worth sacrificing a relationship with your kids or your wife or whoever, significant other, best friends. Like my wife gets on me all the time about it, because at the end of the week, it's like I'll have buddies that'll reach out to me on like Friday, Saturday and be like, hey, you want to come over or, go grab a beer or just hang out. And a lot of times, at least I actually went out with them last Friday. So we went out, had a good night last Friday, but it's like a lot of times I've just been like, nah, I really just want to sit at home and do nothing and have like no responsibility and nobody that wants something from me or any of that, because it's fun to do that. What we've committed to is doing that like once a month with friends and family, because it is like once you start having family and friends and girlfriends or whoever, it's just like nieces and nephews' birthdays and Christmas and Thanksgiving and all this, and it's just like there's always something going on just outside of work. And so it's balancing that. And I'm not the greatest at that. And that's something that I've got on my, my resolutions for 2022 is to get a better balance on that.
With your wife, what does your relationship with her look like? Like, are you on fire? Are you like, you're like, I have respect for you and I love you and I appreciate you? And how did you know that she was the one?
I'd say, how we met was at the gym. It was right down the road here at Athletes with Purpose, AWP at the time. I don't think it's any longer around. But at that point in time, I'd just gotten out of a relationship or like newly, like within a few months. And so, I was at that point, I think I was 20. No, it's been longer than that. I was like 30. I was like 30 years old, 30-ish. And I was like, that's what I was looking for. I wanted a family. My parents had me and my sister at 30. And I was like, that's what I want. I want a family. Like going to the bars at that point in time wasn't really like something like I'd go to the bars, but it's not like I was going there to meet somebody. You're not going to meet. More than likely. It could happen, I guess. But you're probably not going to meet, the best person if you're inebriated and she's inebriated and making that connection. But for me, it was just that. And it's like, I've said it now 3 times. It's really just like those people, just right time, right situation. It's like, I didn't know her and we met at the gym and both enjoyed doing that. She still obviously does it a lot more than I do. She became a trainer. And at that point in time, she was actually a physical therapy assistant at Parkview. And, when we first started dating, she was just, I hate my job. I don't like this. I enjoy the people. I don't enjoy what they're like mandating me to do or like trying to make us do things that I do not think are like ethical. And at that point in time, like she was just coming home and she was not happy. And I was like, you need to do what makes you happy. And, at that point in time, obviously, she was already passionate about the gym. And so it kind of had pushed her towards that direction. And she ended up getting certified to become a trainer. And she's been at Any Time now, I don't know, 5 years maybe, probably 5 years at Georgetown. And she enjoys it. As far as our relationship goes, I think at this point in time, especially with our lives the way they are, it's like, it's just so hectic because we've got 2 kids. They both go to school. Eli goes three days a week. Emmett goes 2. And so she trains in the mornings 2 days a week and trains every single evening. And so right now it's just a situation where like, we just are on the same page as far as what our lives look like and have to be okay that that's what they are at this point. Because, once the kids are old enough to go to school a full day and all that stuff, obviously it frees up a little bit of time and schedule like that. But right now it's just like we've got 100, Monday mornings is my morning to get the boy. She's already at work when they're getting up. So it's getting two kids under 3 with fed out the door with clothes on to school by 8:15, and you know, they usually don't wake up till like 7:30, so it's like it's always just like our mornings on Mondays are just crazy. It's just run, and then same thing on Thursday. Like she works Thursday morning, so I'm with the kids until her. Luckily for us, like we are very, very fortunate. My in-laws live literally 100 yards out my front door. And so on Thursdays, I either take them over to there in the morning at like 9, or like this morning they came over to our house and just watch them until Megan gets off of work. So it's been very fortunate for us for like the system that we have for like support system for us, because a lot of people don't have that. And I don't know, like, especially with COVID and all this like stuff that's going on now, like Emmett has now, his class has had somebody in his class has tested positive for COVID twice now, like once. I don't know if it's the same kid, but once. And then, so when that happens, they shut the thing down for 2 weeks. So then you have to figure out, well, what am I going to do with my kid for 2 weeks if I was planning on taking him here? So, you know, struggling with that. And then it just now happened again, like this last week.
Wow.
And then we have Christmas break, so Emmett won't have been in school for a whole month by the time he's not even gonna go back till January. So it's just like navigating that now, and it's like I don't even know like how people that work like are expected to be 9 to 5 days a week, like how you even do that in this landscape where they can just shut you off like that and be like, oh, we had a positive case, so now your kid can't come to school. Well, I can't leave my 3-year-old at home by themselves.
Right. Wow.
So
that is crazy.
yeah.
I never even thought about that. Yeah. How old are you again?
36.
Okay.
Just turned 36. So
Nice.
yeah, feel 36 too.
We're going to get just to some ending questions here. What are some books or resources, like the most gifted book, the book that you've gifted the most, resources? If somebody wants to get started in real estate investing, since that was kind of your bread and butter and how you got started, what would you recommend to people?
Yeah, so I was actually approached this last week by a guy I used to play basketball with, who was a teacher, and he's like, "Hey man, I've been really thinking about, you know, getting into this, you know, I've been told that this is kind of what you do, like wholesaling, like what would you suggest or some resources that you would suggest?" Bigger Pockets is definitely something that I would say like has been a good source for me, as far as like, especially when I was starting out, like property management side of things, like the Burr method, you know, there's just so much out there. And so to have a forum to be able to go to, like a Google for real estate investors, and be able to just type something in and Google search and find somebody that's already asked a question and look at that. You know, obviously our local RIA group here has been it's been a good source for networking and local knowledge. But I would say like, as far as book wise, like the book that I've probably told the most people about has been Never Split the Difference. And I think just from a negotiation standpoint, like it's just a really, really good book, and it's probably the book that I've listened. I don't read books; I listen to them all because I don't have enough time to sit down and nor the attention span to do it. So just being able to put it in my ear and listen to it. But some of the podcasts that I was listening to before I got started were like the Epic Real Estate Investing Show. I'm trying to see what I sent to him here. Epic Real Estate Investing, Flip to Freedom. Sean, I forget who that, Sean, whoever, but those were two podcasts that a lot of times when I was first getting started, I basically just went through had their podcasts on, like just cycle through the shows. And like when I was working out or just sitting at home or in the office, would just have my AirPods in or whatever, just listening to what they were talking about and then putting that stuff to action, because I think that's probably like the biggest problem that I would say like 99.9% of people will face in that is like, you can have all the resources in the world, but if you don't choose to act on any of them or do anything about it, or like send out mailers or go knock on a door or reach out to somebody and take them to lunch and say, hey, how do you get started? Or how do I get onto Patty? And how do I get onto Patty and find out how to find these people? I mean, I think it's just a lot of people think or there's a perception out there that like people aren't willing to help. But I think that there are those people, but it's like, it's such, and I know you guys aren't like that. It's such a scarcity mindset. And it's like, we talked, again, this is something that we talked about last night in our group, is that like you could give 100 people something and one person is going to act on that. Like, so to be scared that, you know, you're creating competitors or whatever it is, it's like, well, to be honest, like they're, of the people that say like they want to do what we do in real estate, there's really only a handful of people that are actually probably going to honestly take enough action to do it and consistently do it to where they're actually getting results. Otherwise, they may start on fire and then it's going to fizzle out and, you know, they're going to go back to doing what they were doing.
Yep.
So
that makes me a quick question then. What did you think about us whenever we first reached out to you? Did you think we were going to be one of those guys that are like, dude, these guys are talking, but then like, I don't think they're actually going to do anything?
To be honest, yeah. When we met it, you know, the thing I would say though is like you guys were, you know, even from that first deal that you guys talked about, like you guys were
persistent as crap.
You were persistent about it and you wanted to learn how to do it. So, you know, I honestly didn't know how big you guys would scale and that you would get to the point that you are today. But it doesn't really surprise me because you were asking the right questions. You were like, and you were willing to step out there and be like, hey, I don't know how to do this. Would you mind to like show me how to do this? And I think a lot of people, like I said, they're just scared. They don't lend themselves to that to be able to open themselves up. Somebody may say no, you know, but like Colin Young, like if I get that guy coffee, he'll sit there and talk my ear off for however long I want to talk to him.
Yep.
And he's always been that way. Mike Anderson, I mean, take the guy to sushi and he'll tell you his whole life story.
Yep.
It's so like there's plenty of people in the group that are willing to do it. It's going to cost you probably lunch or coffee, but like if you really truly do want to do something, ask. Just ask. People are going to say yes.
Yep.
I mean, yep. So
what is your superpower?
I think my superpower is obviously, I think talking to people. I really enjoy that. And I think that's my, you know, I just enjoy people in general. So like being around people for the most part, the right people, not the Karens of the world, but you know, the right people and the people that have the same similar interest as me is like huge. So I think, you know, your circle is huge. And I know you guys are, you know, big on your circle and,
when we get into that mastermind you were just talking about.
There you go. It's
by invitation only.
Yeah. Well, and it's once a month. I mean, we get together and we just basically like what's going on. And it's been a really, really good group focused sounding board for us because at this point we haven't changed like our members in a while. So we're actually getting to things that like don't even involve business at this point. Like that's why we talked about life, like, and that's our goals for this next month is like, has nothing to do with anything with our real estate or where we are in our lives with it in regards to that. It's actually getting to the point where you're like sitting down with somebody or even having just a group of people, friends or family that you can be like, you know what, I'm really, really struggling with this right now. Mm-hmm. Like I'm yelling at my wife or I'm kicking the dog or, you know, I'm stressed out of my gourd. I'm waking up at 2:00 in the morning and all I'm thinking about is work. Like,
yep.
What can I do to do this? And just having that sounding board to be able to bounce it off people, take their honest advice and be willing to like maybe put some of those things into action. So
60 years from now, you're on your deathbed and you have one last message that you can deliver. It's going to be your legacy. What do you think people need to hear? What's your message to the world?
Wow, that's quite a question. I'd say, I mean, take care of people first. I mean, if you're honestly a giver and not looking to get so much and I'm saying this yesterday, not to like toot my own horn, but like I walked into, like, it just reminds me of this. Like I walked into before our meeting last night and walked into Chipotle and there's this family in front of me that like I got there. They were the only family that was in front of me. They're like, hey, you can go. And I was like, oh, I'm not in a hurry. Like waited for them. They ordered and I walked in front of them and paid for their food. And they were like, wow. I mean, it was like $20, But I was like, they're like, you didn't have to do that. I was like, the fact that you were willing to just let some stranger go in front of you, I was like, Merry Christmas. Like, just doing little things like that, just, you know, to better the world, to, you know, make the next generation better. Like, that's the biggest thing for my family is like my legacy. I think my legacy is my kids. Like, I want my kids to just be great people. And I think my parents gave that to me. You know, my dad would give you the shirt off his back. My mom would give you the shirt off her back. And I think it's just, if you love people, even the bad ones that you shouldn't love, you know, I think that just rubs off, and I think that affects more people. And I think we just, as a society, we need more of that right now, because it's the way it's going is not a society I want to live in 20 years, 60 years from now. Like, I'm not, if it continues going the way it's going right now, man, I'm moving somewhere.
What final thoughts do you want to share with our viewers?
Man, you coming with the hard hitters here at the end, with none of the yes/no questions here. No, I just say, like, if you really, I mean, for your viewers, I would say, like, if you really have been on the fence, or whether it comes to real estate, life, like, I've been watching, like, I may not like reach out on Facebook or do anything like that, but like, I watch what you guys are doing. I watch, you know, your FaceTime or your stories on Facebook or whatever, and see the group that you're surrounding yourself with and the things that you're doing personally, professionally, all that. And I think it's just, from the viewer standpoint, if you're stuck in a rut or stuck, you know, professionally, personally, like, be willing to, like, you know, put yourself out there, reach out to somebody that maybe, you know, the big thing is like, well, this person's doing here and I'm here, like, what do I have to offer? And I don't see it as that. I really think that there are so many good people out there that if you honestly just like, hey, I'm really struggling with this, and you're, you know, you're a person that I look up to, that, number one, they would see that as like, man, that's really cool that they, like, most people don't even, like, I don't think about that. I'm sure you guys don't think about that, but just being able to look up to people or reach out to people and, you know, put yourself out there, because so many people won't do that, and they'll just stay where they are. And then, you know, 5 or 10 years, you know, I have this conversation, and I don't think Rick would be upset that I shared this, but like, he's just, you know, he's at 40, I'm at 36. And he's like, you know, sometimes he gets down on himself. Like, you know, I see what you're doing, and I'm sad that, you know, where I'm at is opposed to where you are. And I'm like, honestly, you don't need to look, like, that's not the way you need to look at things in your life. You need to look at where can I be 5 years from now, because you can't change anything that's already happened. So you might as well just, and he has, it's like, you give him something and it's done. So it's like, to be able to just let your past go and say, I can't do anything about that, but what I am going to do is take massive action moving forward. And I'm not going to look back at what my last 40 years are. I'm going to look at what my next 20 are going to look like, because I'm going to kick ass for the next 20 years. So.
Awesome. How can our viewers get a hold of you? They want to reach out.
You can reach out to me on Facebook or, you know, Messenger. You can follow me on, I could say you can follow me on Instagram. But I'm not going to post it. So I mean, I'm always available on Messenger. If you find me and shoot me a message on Messenger, I'd be happy to talk with you. Or, you know, I'm not going to put my cell phone out there, because but you can reach out to me on Facebook Messenger.
Like, if you're a brand new investor looking at like a 15 unit, I'm probably not going to respond about seller financing or anything. But
if you want seller financing, don't contact me.
Yeah, that's a good disclaimer. Hey, just because we talked about it doesn't mean he's gonna do it. If you listen to what he says he does it for his close friends, contractors. So you got to like
get in that circle.
Build up the relationship for a long time first. We've been building it now for a couple years, and we still haven't gotten one yet. So.
No, you guys have got some deals though that you guys were going after the same property, and you guys ended up getting them. So I mean, you guys have been doing well.
That is true. There was I remember one on Pontiac. That was the only one that I really remember.
Oh, and Winter. Yeah, because
Oh, 311.
house.
there was a lady who, when I got there, she's like, I thought we already showed you the house, and we were like, no. So she came out and showed us the house.
Oh.
And then afterwards,
I remember.
what Mr. Gerig here made a mistake on was he didn't ask if he could just go back and talk to the lady, because they were like, yeah, then I'll go back and I'll talk to
It was
my
the
mom.
daughter,
and
yeah.
Oh, yeah,
let
it
you
was
know
the
later.
daughter. Yep.
Which Dakota's about ready to leave too, and that's like one of the only times that I was like the closer, and I was just like, can we go back and actually talk to your mom right now? And she was like, yeah, I guess. Let me call her. And so we went and talked to her then, and
Yeah,
then
we drove straight to her house on Lily.
Dakota got in front of her and was just like, listen, you're going to sell this house right now.
That was not how I said it. That is actually nothing like what I said, but
it's a little off.
yeah, I wasn't like, hey,
Yeah.
we're putting this under contract.
Yeah. Sign right now.
Yeah. Like, hey, did Adam take a look at this? Oh, yeah, it's ours.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah, I
we
appreciate
appreciate it.
it.
It was
I appreciate
fun.
it, fellas.
And hopefully you guys learned something. If you did learn something, please post it in the comments below, your favorite part. If there's anything that we can ever help you guys with, let us know. Course is coming out hopefully soon. I know we've been talking about it for a while. Hopefully we'll have it out soon. We're going to post basically we're going to have all the information that we know about what we've built so far in this thing. And that's why it's taken us so long, because we've made a lot of videos for it. So we've got a ton of them already done, but we want to get more. We want to get some live calls. We want to show you guys negotiations, sales, polling lists, marketing, everything that we can possibly think of to help you guys be successful. So stay tuned for that. If you guys did enjoy it, please give us a thumbs up, like, comment, subscribe,
Share.
Boom.
That's it. See you guys.